Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Let's get started. We're gonna do like a little, I guess there's a little chatting section. Werewolf Dev is here. Hey, how is everybody doing? It's Saturday. What's happening? 2 Saturday streams in a row? Oh, I feel like I have to lift my chair. Hold on. Hey, Emerald. Hey, Werewolf. Hey, Alex. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Werewolf. Can we get a shout out for Werewolf Dev? I just started following them, and they have a really cool, chill dev stream as well, and a really nice community. Oh, Zipper Tech. Double features, right? Shipyard. Tracy, thank you for the bits. We have alerts off right now. So this is a very special event, okay? We're actually, you guys are like the secret in crowd before the event starts. We're going to be hosted over on the Geek Girl Con channel. And if anyone wants that link, Emerald and any other mods that show up can post it. We're so special, yeah. So what we're gonna do is at 1, as much as possible, I'm gonna ask you guys to head over and watch from their stream, because you'll be with the rest of the convention crowd. But before, which is this time, and after, I'm still gonna be streaming on this channel, and technically you can stay here, but there are reasons why you might want to go over there. They're actually gonna do a giveaway for our game Code Romantic, and you'll get to meet the really cool mods and other chatters from GeekGirlCon. I'm still cool with giving bits with others. Does this make us VIPs? I mean, some people are VIPs. I feel like you should be one, Zipper Tech. Usually I make people who have links to their work VIPs, so that they can post links, or that they've been here a while. Hey, Ice Spark, how are you? Yeah, so we're gonna have a very special 1-hour talk today. But we got 20 minutes to just chill and hang out, you know? I just thought it'd be fun to get here a bit early. What is this thing I'm seeing here? This is part of my desk, maybe? What is this? Very weird. I think it's part of my desk. Strange. Yeah. So, you're well? That's good to know. I'm okay. I was trying to be more open online on Twitter, and saying that, like, I'm actually kind of a bit anxious. I wonder if that's like part of the green screen is messed up back here. Yeah. Yeah, this is why we went live a little early. Let me see if I can move that forward. Hold on. Let me move it a little that way. Okay. Was I right? Nope. I don't know what that is. Well, you know what? If that's the only weird thing that happens during this, is that there's like some weird like shadow behind me that we can't get rid of, I'll accept that. Those captions. Alyssa's here. You guys, Alyssa is one of my close friends. She's a super cool game producer, and she is also one of the people that runs Geek Girl Con. It's a ghost, obviously. Thanks, Werewolf. I am so excited for you to be here. Yeah, I mean, usually we stream on Thursdays, and it's more just like, hey, I'm working on a project. But this will actually be like a little like tutorial with a live demo. So those of you that have done live demos before know that it's real fun, where you've practiced and tested everything out and you're pretty sure it's gonna work. But there might be something that goes wrong when you try it, especially when you have a limited amount of time. Taco Saga, I have done nothing since Thursday. Hey, if you're still here, then I think that's a win. That's the level I'm at. If I'm if I'm alive and safe at the end of the day, I'm gonna consider that a win every day. Yes, and you might have noticed that the captions are a little bit different today. I'm trying to match the branding for Geek Girl Con, so that's why we have it like this. That's always a win. Small wins are still wins. That's right. That's right. Oh, Ship Yarn, that's so sweet. I have a channel in my Discord just for celebrating small wins together. I love that. Stefan, I'm really glad to see you. Thanks for stopping by. And that's really awesome that you're volunteering. It's like teaching. I test nothing, I just wing it. Werewolf. For a heyo! Oh my gosh. Web captioner. We have a big audience today of people that we're meeting for the first time. So please try not to say anything that would be rude, okay? Let's do our best. I normally practice talks much more than this one. I really love public speaking, and on a very productive Miko time kind of year, I will, a short talk, like a 5-minute talk, I'll probably practice 50 times before I give it. It's like a performance. Only use swears for the next hour. Got it. Not yet. Yeah, I actually turned off. Usually our channel is set to mature, which I actually don't think we do anything mature, but sometimes swears happen, especially if I'm playing a horror game. Or you guys sometimes swear. Save them for after the talk. After the talk, I can turn the channel abilities back on and the alerts back on, maybe. No, super tech. Did I miss the new job announcement? You have not. So I am working as a lead designer for another studio, in addition to all of our indie game work that we're doing right now. And I think that's a big part of why I have been super stressed. So I need to figure out how to balance my time better. But I have not yet said what game or studio, because there's going to be like a big marketing push for it in the next few months. And so I was told to wait until that happens, and then I could talk about it more. Yeah, that's why I set my channel to mature too. Have you noticed any difference in the type of people that come to your channel based on whether it's mature or not? I feel like I'm not sure. I think the only difference I noticed was like a couple times when we played games that were very popular with kids, like Bendy and the Ink Machine. I feel like we had some younger people stop by, but they were very nice. They just really liked Bendy. Oh yeah, it's just a setting for Roy you can do, and I think then when you go to the channel, it'll say like, this channel is for mature audiences, that kind of thing. I'm gonna tilt these a little bit more. I feel like, oh, I might have tilted that too much. There we go. I see the colors of my face changing rapidly when I like lean in and out, and I'm like, great, that'll make a good impression on everyone. Calendar blocking has helped me a lot with time management lately. Ooh, do tell. I think we all need more adulting help. I'm an adult. Okay, Taco Saga doesn't need help with that. Yeah, that makes sense, Werewolf. What is your latest project that you're making? I've only stepped in the one time. I think you were doing some UI stuff, which is also cool. We have a few people in our chat that are professional UI devs or designers or have worked a lot with in the past. So I love that. I really actually love to see more UX and UI design on Twitch, because I think this is an area of design that has an interesting relationship with games. I think that when you're designing UX for like an app or a website, it's like much more like a known problem with really like concrete examples of good best practices, good, standards. But I think for games, there's a little bit more leeway because you want everyone to be able to find everything, but you also kind of want the UX to fit the lore of the game, and you're going to have like a lot of different challenges, like, the HUD and all the different like game modes, and especially if you're doing something like VR or AR, it gets even more complex. For work, I lay out my entire day at the beginning of the day or at the end of the previous day, and I give time slots to all the tasks I need to accomplish. Oh man, I love that, Tracy. I used to be like that. And now I'm not. I do know what tasks I'm supposed to do every day. Well, okay, to be a little bit fair to myself, I do have, and I should do it right now. I have a thing I'm tracking now, like just how much time I spend on different tasks. I'm wrapping up Monster this weekend, currently trying to flesh out the UI for a demo. But it's not my specialty. Well, it's always good to just keep working on the things, even if they're not your specialty. DVD menus had no standards. Yeah, this is an ongoing trial and tribulation from Emerald Pond versus the DVD menus. They're always very complicated. UI always takes the most time to do in games out of all the rest. I think that definitely can be true for Roy. It definitely gets derailed sometimes. It helps me focus. Yeah. I bought a paper planner to help get organized, and I'm not sure that has helped. I almost lost it on week 2. Hey guys, thanks for being here today. I mean, I'm actually a little, I don't know how to say this. I guess I'm honored, but also I'm very pleased that you guys would want to hang out with me on a different day. I'm just typing in what I'm doing right now to my tracker. I think it's probably the same for a lot of you, but this is like one of my only social outlets right now, is hanging out on a stream with you. So, it means a lot to me. And it's like fun to have some of my favorite people here. Look at all this organization tips we're getting in the chat. All right, now the real test is, can I move all my windows around so I can see everything I'm doing? Here's my PowerPoint. And I will also be able to see the chat. Werewolf Dev! Oh my gosh, thank you for the sub. I really appreciate it. Oh, thank you. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better and your work. Yeah, so also Werewolf Dev, after this month, one of our upcoming projects we're going to do on the stream is actually a Twitch and Unity combined project, so that when people sub or they give bits, they're going to each get what we're calling a subquarium, which will be a little aquarium that updates based on how much you've contributed to the channel, and has like fish in it and other creatures. So that'll be something that will be really fun. We're building it on the stream, so it'll be slow going, but that the dream will be, now when people sub, like there'll be a little pop-up that comes up and you'll get to see like the new fish coming into your aquarium and everything. You will see the best sword fist. No, I know you meant swordfish ever made. Yeah, I'm really new at Blender, and I had already forgotten everything I learned when we decided we're gonna make the swordfish, because the idea is that mods will have a swordfish in their tank as a special thank you for being a mod. And we made a pretty ridiculous looking swordfish, and then we made another swordfish in 5 minutes that was way better. I don't know how you all can be so organized. I tried Trello once. I spent all day in there and didn't get any coding done. Oh my gosh, that's so nice. Yeah, well, that's why, you know, actually I'm going to talk about this a little bit in this talk, but when you work on your own projects, you have to get used to wearing all the different hats. And, you know, production is still a hat, even if you are working on something for yourself. So just something good to think about. All right, I think I figured out all my little windows here. Hey Wasabi, how are you? Now, so as I was saying, we're getting close to the time that they're going to start hosting me. So make sure that you're, for the chat, for this 1 hour block, I recommend that you go over and watch it with Geek Girl Con and with their chat over here. I'm going to try to watch both chats if you don't want to, but if you're over there, just a couple things. Remember, that's their stream and they have their own code of conduct that may be slightly different from mine. So please, you know, be a good person. In general, they're going to want to uplift, have a real, you know, uphold a positive community over there, which we pretty much have here. So I'm not too worried about you all. All right, kids, behave. And there is also going to be a giveaway of a copy of Code Romantic over there. So if you have not gotten that game yet, you can maybe get one today. Also, just really, you know, Geek Girl Con is a really great conference that I've talked at, I think 2 or 3 times now, maybe more. They're local to me, and I really appreciate them. I think they do a really good job of creating an inclusive space that inspires people to do all sorts of cool stuff. Oh, okay, their thing updated, so we might be going live soon. I see the video on over on their channel. So yeah, I won't be offended if you want to go over there and watch. I think that would be probably pretty smart. Pun not intended. And after, oh no, what happened? See, I shook something and then all my windows got messed up. Way to go. Let's reset this really quick. I can't believe that worked, but here we are. And this is what I mean. Every time there's a live event, right? See, this should feel just like a normal stream, but it doesn't. Good time for everyone to practice watching 2 streams at once. Yeah. Oh, you know what? We should have set up maybe a co-stream. No, too complicated. No shark interruptions. I've turned them off momentarily. Oh, I think we might be getting hosted. I think we might. I see something happening over there. I am live. Hi! Can you guys see me over on the Geek Girl Con channel? Oh, we've only got 2 minutes till we're about to start. Let me just make sure I'm not crossing anything. I think I'm okay. I I think I have both the chats open. So if anyone wants to say something over on the Geek Girl Con side, I'll know for sure. But yeah, we're about to get started. It's a live show. Isn't that exciting? Oh, okay, I see. Um, yeah, okay, like 2 more minutes. And then we're going to talk about how to make a visual novel. And this talk is I've practiced it and it is like exactly an hour long, okay? So let's just like cross our fingers that our little live tech demo goes well and that all the content fits the way I think it will. And I will be reading your chat and I'll be reading your questions, but I might not be able to like stop and talk through all the questions in the middle. I think what I'll do is I'll wait till the end and then I will keep streaming. It's up to Geek Girl Con if they want to keep hosting me, but I could answer some more questions if you still have lingering thoughts at the end over on my channel. Hello, it's all pretend. Hey, Game Dev Girl. Hey, Trini. Trini's the person that set all this up, everybody. So thank you so much. I'm really excited. Yeah, we're like 1 minute till we get started, okay? So we're getting there. We're getting there, everybody. It's like really relaxing music. I hope everyone's having as zen as a Saturday as you can. Okay, it says 1 o'clock. We're gonna get started. Got my little timer here so that I know about when I have to start different parts. So let's see. Okay, my name is Miko and we are about to do a 1 minute talk on how to make a visual novel. And a couple cool things about this. There's a giveaway. Actually, I'll just go to the next slide, which is where I talk about this. There's a giveaway for my visual novel, Code Romantic, that will be happening in the Geek Girl Con chat. So if you are hanging out on the Geek Girl Con channel, please look to the moderators there and they're going to be informing you on what you have to do for that giveaway. Also, I have made a post on our Patreon that's public, and it has a lot of extra resources regarding what we're going to talk about today. So don't worry if you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many links and I have to write down all this information. I've already written it down for you, and I'll be tweeting that and posting that online some more after the talk. So you're not going to miss anything. But yeah, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Miko. We kind of covered that. I am a game designer, I'm an indie game developer, and I'm a Twitch streamer. And we're talking about visual novels today. Visual novels are one of my favorite game genres. So if you're here and you don't know what they are, we're going to cover that. If you are a big fan, that's super exciting and I hope you enjoy this. But even better than just talking about visual novels, we're going to learn to make one. And you don't have to have any previous game development experience. This is definitely a talk that's useful if you have never made a game before, if you're just kind of curious about interactive fiction, or you're curious about, you know, game devs in general, then you're in a good place. Yeah, my game Code Romantic that came out earlier this year, it is a visual novel with a post-apocalyptic love story that teaches you how to code. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about coding, it's a good choice, and it's also an example of a visual novel. So let's get started. Okay, so what is a visual novel? There are subgenres. You might have heard like kinetic novel, or I feel like there's like so many like subcategories to it, but in general, visual novel originated in Japan and it's very popular in Asian countries. And they usually refer to text-based story games. They're usually 2D, so you'll often have like a background and then characters standing in front of a background. And they usually have really elaborate like soundtracks as well. So they're sort of like interactive fiction with just a little bit more content. Beautiful art, beautiful music. They often contain branching narratives and multiple endings. And because they originated in Japan, the style and the narrative are very heavily influenced by anime and manga. And the kinds of stories that tend to be told in visual novels, well, it definitely leans a lot towards romance, mystery, science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Often the gameplay will be something like a murder mystery that you have to solve, or you have to interrogate or converse with a lot of characters to discover some secrets, or you have to uncover some kind of like intricate plot line. And they're very popular as well to use as dating sims. So anything that's got a large group of attractive characters that you hope to date, that's usually very popular as well in the visual novel category. But another thing that I would really want to emphasize to you is that it is an interactive fiction medium, so you can make one about whatever you want, any topic. And one of the things that's super exciting about visual novels is that people are using them to explore their own stories. They're using them to talk about their sexuality, their culture, their personal like memories or autobiographical moments. And I just really wanted to emphasize this because I think we've all had a really hard year. I've had a pretty hard year, and I feel like that's been true for a lot of the people I talk to. And, you know, expressing yourself through a creative project, maybe, you know, if it's too much for you right now, that's okay. But maybe it's something that could help you right now. Maybe it could help you focus your thoughts, deal with the things that, you know, have been troubling you, and also maybe teach people through your story about your perspective or a topic that's really important to you. So just because a lot of visual novels are fantastical tales from faraway lands or thirsty dating sims, that doesn't mean they can't also be completely something different. They can't be emotional experiences that really can touch people's hearts in different ways. Okay, so hopefully that's enough of an introduction that you're excited about making a visual novel. And if that's true, then what we're going to talk about next, we're going to talk about roles and we're going to talk about the game dev timeline, just in like really broad strokes, okay? Because I think this will help you if you're very new to game dev, just wrap your head around what even do you have to do to make a game. The thing about the roles is in a larger game studio, everyone will specialize. So you will hire people to do these different roles. But when you're working on a project by yourself, when you're working on a project with a small group of friends, you still have to do these roles. It just means that you're probably doing them. And you're probably doing more of them than you would if you worked at a bigger game studio. So it's really important to know what they are because these are all the same things that you're going to have to learn how to do. Okay, so just really quickly, production. This is the role that organizes the tasks and the timeline and the priorities. And you still have to do that to some degree, even if you're making something as a hobby, because you're trying to fit in that time whenever you can. You need to write down lists of the things that have to get done. And you know, sometimes you have to like be your own producer. Like I have a special hat I put on when I have to like tell myself to stop dreaming about all the crazy stuff and actually figure out what needs to get done to finish. And then there's art. You know, this will be, you know, 2D art, the characters, the backgrounds, how the buttons look and the UI. There's audio. This is the job of basically anything that you can hear in the game. What kinds of sound effects do we need? What kind of music do we need? For a visual novel, writing is one of the most important things because the narrative is such a top thing that makes the game shine. And design, in this case works very tied in with the narrative, but it can be what kind of gameplay do you want? What kind of stats do you want? How many endings are there going to be? You know, basically it's just like taking the writing and figuring out how you're going to weave that into the interaction is the job of the design. And then finally we have coding, and code is the thing that kind of stitches everything together and makes it happen. So now that we have like a plan and we have all this content, how do we make it work so that the player can interact with it in the game? And each of these game dev roles is used in a different way throughout the timeline of the project. So, of course, this can get more specific too. But in general, I want to show this to you if you haven't seen it before, because this timeline kind of shows you the stages that every game goes through. It starts as an idea, and then you keep iterating on it and updating it and getting feedback and fixing it and polishing it, and then finally you're ready to release it to other people. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this talk is go through each of these phases and kind of emphasize some of the decisions you will need to make if you are making a visual novel and what could help you make those decisions. But the quick overview is that the concept is kind of like the idea phase. It's like the dream big. What are all the crazy things that we want to do in this cool game? Like, what's going to make this story shine? The prototyping is where you take those questions that you have where you're like, well, we know we want to do this, but I'm not sure if we should do it this way or that way, or I'm not sure how we're going to accomplish it. That's what the prototyping phase helps you with. It lets you test little things and answer those questions. Then there's the build phase, and in the build phase, you're going to, that's the part where you kind of know the whole thing and you know what steps you need to take, and you go in and start building the whole game from start to finish. After that, you polish it up, you take what you have and you keep making every little bit of it better. And then if you choose to release it, there's a release phase as well that kind of like wraps it all up and gets it out to other people. All right, so concept. This is definitely one of the most fun phases. So what is the central idea to the game, right? And because visual novels are driven by story, it's pretty common to start with the plot instead of the gameplay. Whereas in a lot of other types of games, you might start with a really compelling game mechanic and then figure out what theme or plot you want to put on top of that. So you should think to yourself, like, what is like a really cool idea that you would really like to do? You know, why do I want to make this idea? And like, what are some things that are just important to me that I think I have a story to tell? And once you have your idea, then you can kind of keep thinking like, okay, but how do I want the player to feel? Like when they're playing this game, should they feel like, should they be laughing a lot? Should they be scared? Should they be like seeing these plot twists and being really surprised by what I've done with the story? And sometimes you can take, like, as you're filling out your plot, you can also plot like the emotional journey, like what is the player feeling at every moment as it goes. And when and where does this game take place is also a good thing to start thinking about. It's like the beginnings of your world building, right? Is it a dystopian future? This screenshot's from a game called NeoCab, and in the Patreon post that I made, I also put all of the links to all of the games that I've screenshotted here, by the way, so you can go and check them out. They're all amazing games. Do you want it to be like a historical game or a fantasy game, or, you know, all the little things about like where does the game take place and how does the location affect the plot? And, you know, at this point, you're also going to want to think about multiple endings. What are the changes that will happen in a story that will sort of support why there are multiple ways to finish the story? So then you're probably going to start thinking, okay, I have a good plot, or I have a great idea and like an outline, but like, what are the characters that I want to have in this game? And visual novels actually usually have a really great ensemble cast of characters. So as you're coming up with what you want in your cast, it's good to think about what makes them feel unique and varied from each other. And there's a lot of really great resources out there on character design and how the use of like the silhouette and the art style can really help all the characters distinguish themselves. But personality wise too, it helps to go a little bit more extreme with some of the personalities so that they really are obviously different from each other. This is really helpful in a romance game where you want a cast of kind of archetypes that you know people like. Those of you that watch a lot of anime probably think about like Someone will always be like, oh, I like the tall, quiet one, or I like the one that wears glasses. So everybody kind of already has these like ideas of the ones they like when they watch a new show or they play a new game. And it's good to play off of that. If you are doing something more like a mystery, then think about the fact that all of your characters should have a secret to reveal. Even if the secret isn't that they were involved in that particular mystery, it will help each of them be like someone that needs to be dived into deeper with the plot. And you'll want to think about your protagonist as well. In a lot of games, especially romance games, the protagonist is silent. They may even have like their face obscured in a lot of the artwork. And that is because you're supposed to kind of project yourself into that role. But in another type of game, they might have like a really strong personality because they're really deeply invested in the plot in that universe. So that's just something important to think about, what the tactic is that you're going to take with your game. And also think about the fact that over time, relationships evolve. Like, how do you want, as the plot goes on, for your player to learn more about these characters? Or is it a situation where you can fall in love with them? Can they leave the game if something happens? Can they die? All of these things are really important to explore. All right, so the next thing is the gameplay. So now that we know what the story is that we want to do, we're going to go through and think about how is it interactive. And a lot of these games do have branching narrative paths. This up here is from Virtue's Last Reward, which is one of my favorite visual novels, and it's very complex. And they actually show you all of the choices you can make, and you can jump back to any choice if you get stuck and can't proceed. And they use that as part of the plot, actually. This is a game where your character is aware of the fact that they are able to jump around in different timelines. So that's a really interesting thing you can work into your game if you want. These games often track stats as well. And stats often are things like your relationship points with different characters. But if it's more of like a simulation game where you're running a business, or you're running, maintaining a house, or you go to class, you can also have like branching paths lead to you gaining physical strength, or gaining cleverness, or whatever it is that you want. And then later you can check those stats and decide if they get certain branching dialogue from the stats they have. It's also like good to think about, are you going to be revisiting the same locations a lot? Like, is this a game that takes place in like 4 rooms, or is it a game that takes place more linearly, like where the player is progressing through a lot of different environments and you won't have to repeat certain sections? And other types of gameplay. These are from Professor Layton, which some people have described as an opera of puzzles, because instead of breaking into song, all the characters break into puzzles and make you solve them as you play. And they obviously put a lot of time into thinking about this game as having mini games. So it's really cool to think about like that. Okay, so once your concept feels like pretty solid, like you're ready to move on to prototyping, now you're going to start thinking about, like, what does that even mean? Like, how do I test out an idea? And so here are some things that you can do that help with the prototyping. I see we have some prototyping fans in the chat. Yeah, prototyping is really fun, actually, because you tend to put together something really quick and then get really excited about it because you're like, yeah, this works really well. Yes, cool. We've done it. We've invented a great new game. There's a couple different tactics. So this one I built in Unity, but you don't have to build in an engine yet if you're not ready to pick an engine. You can actually do something like this in Photoshop. You can do it in paper. And paper prototyping is actually really cool and fun. Like, it's just like getting graph paper and just drawing a bunch of boxes and pretending they're buttons and pushing them and stuff. But basically, I wanted to show you what it looks like for a visual novel to be prototyped and gray boxed quickly, which is basically just a whole bunch of white and colored screens. And then I didn't write any of the dialogue in yet. I just wrote like, it's the first time she replied, that kind of thing. And I just want to make sure the whole flow of the game was in there and I could start to like see the pieces coming together. Another fun thing that you can do is act it out with your friends. This is sometimes called body storming and can be really fun. Admittedly, makes a little bit more sense for something like a VR game that you're making and you're trying to see, can people even like physically move like this? But I think it could be kind of fun too to if you're not sure how to fit like 4 characters on the screen at once and you have some friends act it out with you. You know, whatever. It could be another tool for you. When you're getting into the prototype phase as well, the art team will need to start thinking about what the art style is. And art style will really dramatically change the way that people think about your game. So in the game Hatoful Boyfriend, which is quite notorious, the game chose to use photos of real pigeons as your romance options. But then later, they did add the ability for you to view them as cute anime boys. So it's interesting because your perception of the game will dramatically change. And there are lots of visual novels that use real photos for the backgrounds or maybe for the characters. There's some live action ones as well. So if you can't draw, but you can cosplay, this could be a really cool opportunity to make this like a live action game for you. I've also seen like stop motion animation and miniatures. There's really a lot of cool options out there. But if you are kind of new to art, or it's not your strength, you know, one thing that really helps is color palette. And I put a link in the Patreon post to my favorite place to look up color palettes. Just having a unified color scheme really makes the whole game more cohesive. You want to think about what is that character art style, what you want for your backgrounds. Backgrounds should be more faded. You want them to be like lighter or in whatever way take less attention because you want your players to be looking at characters more. How you're going to do your UI, and then fonts actually can bring a lot of polish to your game. It's also good if you're not quite sure what you want to do here, you can start with mood boards. So just grab, you know, a Pinterest board or print out a bunch of stuff and put it up on your wall and like look at other art styles or other games that you want to be influenced by or other photos you've taken. Kind of seeing them all together and starting to grab what elements you like of each is a really good way to define your art style. And then you have audio. So if you already have the skills to make your own audio, or you have people on your team that really want to do this, that you're really all set. Music is the primary thing in a visual novel that really sets the tone, but it's really important to not forget about sound effects. And that can be anything from like, you know, somebody opened a door and you play like a door creaking sound, or it can be thinking about the UX, always having visual and audio feedback paired together. If anything changes visually, think about what sound effect could maybe accompany it, because it doesn't always have to be literal. It can be more, it could be like a music sting or something like that. And there are some free sound libraries, which I linked in that post. You can also record your own sounds. I mean, you are learning to make a game, so don't feel too stressed about the quality yet. You know, you can record your own little sound effects of you walking in the woods, or maybe if you play any instruments, you could record that as well. And this level here is on top of the music and the sound effects, you might have voiceover. Voiceover is not necessary, but it's certainly something that brings a lot of polish to a visual novel. So if you have people that are already professional voice actors or really good at it or aspiring to be really good at it, then it's good to try. But you don't feel like you have to put it in if you feel like your team is not ready for that yet. Okay, so once you've done some prototyping and you know all the things that you have to do to make this happen, it's time to do a build and start making the thing. And at this point, you're probably going to want to pick a game engine. Now, of course, you don't have to start with a game engine, but I would suggest if you're a more content-minded person, if you're somebody who cares a lot about the story and you want to finish quickly, then leaning on a game engine lets you take advantage of the really great work other people have done, and it lets them basically like help you get to your end goal faster. So I personally prefer using game engines because I have too many ideas and I want to get all of my ideas done as fast as I can. And I don't enjoy as much getting in the nitty gritty of building some of these features myself. If you do enjoy getting in there, then more power to you, no worries. But here are some game engines that are very helpful, and they're also on the easier side if you are new to coding or new to making games. We're going to be doing RenPy in just a second. So if you are like dabbling and you want to download RenPy, the link again will be in that Patreon post. But Twine, this is an interactive fiction engine that I use a lot for prototyping and making design docs. Bitsy, I think, is a really helpful one because it's a very like scoped down game engine, and it happens all in a browser, and it lets you do pixel art, it lets you write dialogue, and it's pretty fun and cool to play with. And then I use Unity with a plugin Fungus Games. And this is because when we make our visual novels, we want to put other gameplay elements in, and we're already experienced at using Unity. So if you are a bit more on the tech side and you want to make more elaborate features in your visual novel, this is a really great method that I recommend. But we're going to look at RenPy right now, and we're actually going to do a live demo of how this works, assuming everything goes well. So let me just move a couple of my little windows around here. Yes, it's Geek Girl Con line. RenPy, I think, is a really great choice because it is an engine that is built specifically for visual novels, and they know what features people expect in a visual novel. But even better, it comes with this amazing tutorial project. So I'm going to show you just a couple of the basics right now, but actually you can follow on your own time and learn a lot more from this tutorial and just keep building out the thing that you want to make. All right, so let's come over here. I have a lot of windows open, so bear with me. This is going to be all the fun of a live tech demo that we hope will go right. The first thing we're going to do, there we go. We're going to turn on my display so you guys can see my monitor down here. And then I'm just going to briefly move this over here. Okay. All right, I've got my notes ready to go. Okay, so when you download RenPy, this is going to be the first thing that you're going to see is this RenPy launcher. This is the thing that'll open. And it'll have these two projects, and then this is a test one that I made. But let's go ahead and create a new project. You're going to create a project. It's going to give you a couple of screens. This one says it'll be in English, and then you're going to name it. And you want this name to not have any spaces in it. So I've prepared for you a brief and tantalizing story about a shark. No one from my stream is going to be surprised that this is what we're talking about today. And then this is the resolution. So I'm just going to pick the default one on my monitor here. And then they will ask you what color you want. So let's pick this blue here. Now it's going to take a little bit of time and build your project for you. And if at any time here I'm going too fast, it's okay. I'm just trying to give you like a little bit in case you're like, oh, I don't know what this Python language is. I don't know if I'm ready to jump into a game engine. But a lot of the stuff that I'm going over here, again, will be covered by that tutorial project. Okay, so we've made a new project here. And now we're going to go ahead and launch it. So just by having it highlighted, I can click here, Launch Project. And that's it. This game was just made for us immediately. And what I want you to really appreciate here is look at this. It came with a help feature that already has all the interactions listed out. There's an about screen. There's preferences. You won't have to implement how to balance the music volume separate from the sound and the voice volume. You won't have to implement these text features. They're already here for you. And there's a whole save and load system in here. And I don't know if this was something that was a concern to you, but even with our projects, I get kind of nervous that we'll do something wrong and the save system will break and people already have saves. So it's just nice that it's already there. And let's go ahead and see, what does the game look like when you first make a new project? Well, there's a character named Eileen here, and she lets us know you have created a new Ren'Py game. And once you add a story and pictures and music, you can release it to the world. Pretty straightforward. That's it. That's our game. That's the temporary game that they make for you. All right, so now we're going to go back to our window for a second because we need to start thinking about, how is this game even made? And the way that this is made is through this. So there's all these files here. We're going to open this file, script.rpy. And when I click that, it automatically opened in the text editor that I have as my main text editor. I'm just moving a couple things around so we can grab them. And this is the text editor I use the most. This is another thing that's in the Patreon post for you. This is Notepad++. And I've actually done a couple extra things here, which I also put in the Patreon post to make it easier for you. One thing I've done is automatically set .rpy files to be recognized as Python. And because we did that, there's a little bit of coloring going on. Programmers love color coding in their text editors because it helps you just quickly look at it and know that, yeah, that's a keyword and that's a variable and that's a comment. So it's really going to help you, even if it doesn't seem like it yet. And another thing that I did is, you see these little orange dots? This is showing me that these are all spaces. And if I did a tab, which actually is another thing I disabled, it would look like an arrow. And in Python, it's going to get really annoyed if you put a tab in. So it's a really cool thing to just quickly do here so that you won't make a mistake and then the program won't get angry at you and say, I don't know what's going on. There's a tab in my code. Mr. Z says, are there any notable cowboy-themed visual novels? Ooh, I love a challenge. I'll think about that more when we're done with the demo. Let's see. Okay, so what are we going to do next? Well, we can see up here, and I'm sorry if this is a little, like, tiny. Define E equals character Eileen. And this character, this is the character basically... What it's doing is it's setting what's on the right here equal to this variable E. And down here, you can see that when I want Eileen to talk, I just have to hit E, space, and then the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch Eileen to be Sharky, because that is going to be the main character of our game that we're going to make. I'm going to define that to be S equals character Sharky. And down here, I'm going to make these lines equal to S. And when you see this thing popping up, this is actually very helpful as well, but we don't really need it today. This is autocomplete, because there's a lot of terminology when you're coding, and it's really good to have that. Okay, so then I'm going to save, and we're going to come back to our window here, and we're actually going to hit Shift-R, which will turn auto reload on. So now every time that we save in our text editor, it will upload, or update rather. And so now we can see that now Sharky is saying this instead of Eileen. And one thing that a lot of people do better than what I do is basically better coders than who I am. Is they will just do tiny changes and then check. I tend to like get really excited and build like really, really large, elaborate things and then realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just checked along the way. So we're going to try to be good at that practice today. The next thing that we're going to do, now that we've changed our character, is just change those lines of dialogue here. So like I said, I've written a very, epic tale here about Sharky being in the ocean. So let's change this to be, the ocean sure is a beautiful place. And then down here, Sharky is gonna say, sometimes though, I can't help but wonder what lies beyond my home. See, we've introduced the central plot, the central conflict already. And you might have already seen this kind of flickered in the background. And the reason for that is that when I come in here, it's already refreshed. So there we go. There's our new stuff. Yes, what if you have two characters starting with the same letter? Yeah. So you, as it was said in the chat, you can choose whatever you want. I noticed that in the Renpai tutorial, they recommend having just one letter, but you don't have to. Let's say, like in my game Code Romantic, we have Mina and we have Mom as a character, so you could do like M-I, or you could do M-I-M-O. But also you could just put the whole name if you want. It's no worries. Variables get to be whatever you want them to be. All right, so now let's add a background image. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna come over here and I'm gonna open the images directory here. Okay. And this opened off screen, but let me drag this down for you. All right, this is my folder that it's checking in to find images. And I'm gonna drag a couple things in here. Oops. I'm going to drag in this ocean background that I made, and then also this shark image that I made. It is actually one of the emotes in our chat, so you'll see Sharky showing up if people are posting it in the chat. Yeah, so let's see here. And then now when I go back in here, we should be able to reference these by the name that they are over here in this image file. And one thing I learned about, sorry, now I have like all these files open again. One thing I learned about Renpai is that they ask that your images start with a lowercase letter. And they also like spaces in their stuff. So what we're gonna do is come over here, and I have named this, instead of scene will let it basically put it on the screen, like create a new image. Instead of BG room, which is something that doesn't exist, we're gonna do BG ocean, because that's the one that I put in the file folder. And now when we come in, we're at the ocean. Yay, it worked. So it's just something to get used to. And of course, again, this, you can use any organization scheme you want, but it does seem helpful to give a prefix that's background, and also for every character. So similarly, what they did here is they named their character Eileen Space Happy. I didn't pay too much attention to this, so I actually used C1 to make character 1 and then Shark. But what I should have done is named it Sharky Happy. It's good to do that because usually characters have lots of different emotes. And so having the prefix be the name of the character and then the next word be their emotion is pretty common and easy for you to read as you're writing as well. There he is. Sharky has made it to the ocean. All right. All right, well, we're making really good progress here. So let's try to make it a little more complicated. What if we wanted to show two characters at the same time? Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to move Sharky to the right by typing @right. And if you want to dive more into it, you'll find out that right is also a variable, and it's a variable that's basically an X and Y coordinate that tells it where to put it on the screen. So you can make whatever X and Y coordinates you want as variables and move your characters around. You can even slide them while the game is running. And we are going to make a second character. This character, define. So define is a word that tells us we're going to create a new variable. And we're going to make the character fish. Just like that. And now we're going to say after these two lines of dialogue, we want the fish to show up. So let's do show C2 fish at left. And C2 fish is again the name of the file, but in retrospect, I should have done fish happy. Okay. And then we're just going to add one line because otherwise it'll end and we won't even get to see the fish. So we're going to say F says, what you thinking about? Sharky. They have a great relationship, so, you know, the fish can be very casual. It's a very special fish. All right, so now when we come in, here's our 2 lines, and there's our fish. What you thinking about, Sharky? Ta-da! Our game, it's like evolving so much right before our eyes. All right, let's add a little bit more dialogue here to kind of further this plot we got going on. So we'll have Sharky say, oh, hey fish, do you know if there's any way to walk on land? So, you know, that's the first thing I would think if I was a shark. I could use a change in scenery. And then the fish will say, you wanna borrow my robot suit? I wear it so I can visit the forest. Oh, the plot thickens. Again, as a good practice, we're gonna save and we're just gonna click through it. I think what you're also getting here is how many times that you have to play your own game. And that's true about any game, but this is good because it makes you really familiar with your material, but it also means that you're gonna get really used to your own dialogue. All right, so let's do one of the top things you're gonna do in a visual novel. Let's make a menu with some choices, okay? This will be fun because I usually forget how to do all my tabs here and break everything. So then you'll get a live demonstration of what it's like when you break your code. All right, so what you do in RenPy is you create a menu, just menu colon, and then it's paying attention to the tabs, but remember those tabs have to be made of 4 spaces. So it's looking for another 4 spaces to come in, and then we're gonna write borrow robot suit, colon, and then we're going to create a jump. So essentially somewhere below, we're going to define what borrow is and have that be a place that you jump to if the player chooses this button. In some programming languages, this is known as a go-to, which also has some funny connotations for people who program a lot. There's a lot of fun jokes about that. But it works, okay? It works in the context of interactive fiction. And then jump decline. And now I, from experience, know the game will break unless I put in the next part, which is these labels. So let's create label borrow. And I'm just gonna quickly put in S, shark saying, a robot suit? I'd love to wear that. Also, I see that GeekGirlCon is posting in the chats that they're about to do the giveaway. So if you do want to win that copy of Code Romantic, please check out the chats and they'll explain. They'll explain how it works. They're the experts on that. So if I say I'd love to wear that, then let's just jump to... Well, let's just create... Right now, let's create an endpoint that both of these will go to, okay? Jump to the end. And then we also want to create this other one, label decline. And the shark will say, ooh, I'm not sure. I'm afraid of confined spaces. And of course the fish will respect the shark's wishes and say, too bad. Well, see you later. Just like that. All right, looks like you have to type GGC 2020 into the chat for the giveaway. So go ahead and do that if you want to. All right, jump, end, All right, there we go. And then of course we've created these jump points. So let's make sure that we have that in as well. And again, this is just experience from previous times I've done this and everything got freaked out. In fact, I think we can see it. Yeah, I got freaked out here because of something happened. Oh, see? What happened? Oh yeah, see, so this is actually a really good example because when you're going to learn how to code, this kind of thing will happen to you all the time. And admittedly, it's scary. And I'm a perfectionist. Maybe you are too. And when something breaks, I immediately go, no, I failed. I'm terrible. I'll never finish anything. But you shouldn't be like that. Most of the time, it's going to happen. And you're just going to persevere. And you're going to fix the problem. You're going to move on. I promise. The game will get made if you keep working hard at it. If you fail, you can only fail by stopping what you're doing, okay? So all it's telling me here is that when it got to borrow, it expected a colon. And that's a classic mistake I made here. I typed too fast. I didn't put all the good grammar in. So now that I put the colon in, hopefully this will get very angry and we will restart it. But hopefully it will work just fine after that. Okay, it worked. It didn't get angry. And I'll put on the auto reload. So here, and then we have menu. And we can choose one, and that happens. Great, great. But you might have noticed that menu, it was like really hard to read, right? Like it was like white text on white text. So let's go in to here. And we're going to choose to open this GUI.rpy. And for you artistic folks, this is where the really exciting stuff happens. There's actually tons and tons and tons of colors and things in here. And I happen to know that the one I'm looking for is called button text idle. So I'm going to search for that. If you've done any kind of web development, if you've updated your... if you've updated your like Tumblr page or any kind of like social media page before, then you're probably familiar with these hex codes and color codes and stuff. So it shouldn't be too scary. But this is definitely a way that you can really, really customize things. So this was set to CCC. Wait, yeah, that's right. 6 of them. So that's like a light gray, but we're just going to set it to 6 zeros, which means it's off, like a black. I don't know why. I always remembered this from when I learned how to do web stuff as when a light is off, it's black in the room. And when I like turn the light on, it's light, like bright white in the room. So that's how I remember that, like F, which comes at the end because it goes 0 through 9 and then A through F. F is white and 0 is off, which is black. That's how I remember it. Okay, so now if we do this again, click, 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 now we can easily read the two things here. And of course that's just for legibility, but think of all the stuff you could do by replacing this image, by putting in different fonts and different colors. And that is that. Another thing that we were gonna do is this label at the end. I'm just gonna write the end here, and I'm not gonna attach this to any variable because I want that to come across like the narrator is saying it. Okay, and then we just have one more stretch feature. Can we load a different scene if you get the robot suit? Let's see what happened. Let's see what happens if we do it. My present tense has left me, apparently. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this borrow. If we borrow the suit, what do we want to happen? Okay, well, let's very quickly pop in. And we're going to write scene background forest, which is another background that I've made and put in that folder. And we're also going to write with fade, which happens to be a transition. Another lovely thing about Ren'Py is it does all these transitions for you, which is super cool. So it'll do like crossfades, and they have some pretty, like, if you guys remember like Windows Media Player used to have like the pretty crazy ones where like boxes fly in and wipe and stuff. You could do all that too. It's actually built into Ren'Py, so keep that in mind. We're gonna do another voice sometime later, another narrator. And then we're going to show our new character, but now our character has become a robot. And so C1 robot is the image we're going to show. And then we're going to add right here. Wow. I've never seen anything like this before. Wub Wub says, is this script rehearsed or ad-libbed? It's a little bit of both, you know. When I put together a talk, I always try to make sure that it makes sense and that it's going to fit in the time that we have today. So I pre-planned, you know, what content I was going to show in my demo, but also I'm kind of winging it a little bit as we go. Okay, so now we should be able to come in and view our final game. Here's Sharky talking to Fish. There's gonna be a choice, and if we choose the robot suit, then we fade to the forest sometime later, and there is Sharky wearing the robot suit, and he is loving the fact that he got to leave his home for the day and learn about a new environment. And that's what we did. It took us about 15 minutes. And we very quickly, because we had some assets to use, you can use temp assets too while you're building everything. We put together a little story. Am I remembering correctly that Neopets had HTML? You know, it's a little known secret that a whole generation of game designers cut their teeth on Neopets. Customizing and building little economies for themselves and making their own mini games. So yeah, I would say that's very, very true. I saw MySpace got mentioned as well. That's also another good one. So much Neopets love. That's awesome. Okay, so that is it for our live demo. We stuck in there. We didn't break anything. Now we can return to our PowerPoint and finish talking about the rest of the process. So hopefully if you're someone who's new to coding, that didn't look too scary to you. Like, just like any other discipline, coding can get very, very deep, and you can expand your mind in all sorts of ways. You can become an expert of different types of coding as well. But if your primary thing is like you're a little nervous about it, you can do it very simply just to tell the story that you want to tell. And I think Ren'Py is a really good engine for that. So yeah, hopefully that didn't look too scary. Now, once you have built your game from end to end and it is playable and the story is in there, now we're going to move on to the polish phase. And this is the time this is the time where we talk about the 80-20 rule, which you may have heard in so many other contexts. It also applies here. Many times people will say that last 20% of your game will take 80% of your time. And it will also try your patience, because if you thought you were playing your game a lot before, you're going to really play your game a lot now. Can you do masks in Ren'Py? Yes, I think so. There's a lot of advanced Ren'Py features that I haven't dabbled into yet, but if you see some of the really incredible visual novels that are made with Ren'Py, they've done like really amazing things. Twine as well. People have done some really incredible things. So this is just a little quick example from one of my favorite dating sims, Amnesia Memories. And I just want to show how, like, you can see the visual polish they put here, the little bit of motion design, the particle effects, the way that things kind of ease into the scene, the way the typography moves, just gives it a little bit more pizzazz, right? And that's the kind of thing you're looking for. You're looking for moments in the game where it's working and it's acceptable right now, but what if we could make it work better? What if we could make it even more exciting? And the other things that are really specific about polish and for a visual novel is the editing and the pacing. So for pacing, your players, they're gonna read at different speeds, and that's one of the things that they're going to adjust themselves in the settings. But think about, like, does any emotional payoff happen like too quickly? Like maybe it doesn't totally land because there's not enough dialogue around it. Or maybe something happens too slowly. Like maybe there's a part where you're like, you know, this is really like it's like dragging on for a while in this one part of the game. And then that's where the editing comes in. It's just like looking at your pacing and kind of stretching things and squishing things so that it always feels good to the player. Another important thing, because there's so much dialogue here, is talking about tone and character unique voices. And I often do a thing where I know that, like, probably like many writers, everyone kind of sounds the same through most of the drafts, but then near the end I will like make my notes about what each character's unique style of talking is, and I will go through it and make sure that they're using like the vocabulary that they would use, the, you know, how short are their sentences, what kind of like basically lingo do they use, do they, you know, basically just the manner in which they speak. Another thing I always have to do is remove common words, because I write very fast, but then I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, how many times have I written the word really or just? Yeah, that could be removed. So it's good to know what your personal writing like tics are, or like things that you know you have to watch out for. Yeah, I think that's just a really big thing. Another thing that just really helps, yeah, like for sure, with the editing part, is to read your dialogue out loud. And that is very helpful, because you'll see where you get all tongue-tied and you're going to be like, oh, that sentence is probably too long. The other part of polish is play testing. So play testing is where you have other people play your game and you see where they get confused and where they laugh and where it really lands for them. And this can be pretty tricky for a visual novel because they tend to be longer. So you might want to do things like just do the first chapter or the demo with people. I recommend setting up calendar invites. I put a link to Calendly in that Patreon resource page. You can have basically just set out what are the times that you're available, and then anyone you're thinking of having come in to play test, and of course you could do it totally virtual through video chat these days. Just have them put in when they're free based on your available slots. And that way, like, that software is doing it. You're not getting a bunch of emails from people saying, oh no, something came up, can I do it an hour later? Just like let them go back in the tool and fix it as they need to. This is really important to playtesting, and it's hard to do. Don't correct people or explain. When people are coming into playtest, they're doing it because they really care about you and they care about the product. And they may give some feedback that you know why you did it that way, or maybe feedback that you don't agree with. But at the moment, it's really important just to write down everything and say, you can ask elaborating questions like, why, like, oh, what do you think about, why do you think that is, or something, and just like let them dive in. But people need to feel like it's safe for them to tell you how they really think. Of course, you don't have to take all the feedback. I mean, that's your right as the creator, but let them feel safe to tell you. And also, it's too tempting to say like, oh yeah, we did it this way because we had this limit and we only had 8 people in the cast or whatever it is. Like, they don't need to know that. You know that. You can fix it later, but they don't need to know that while they're playtesting. And don't feel embarrassed, you know? It's hard to read your work out loud. It's kind of hard to hear it interpreted differently. We've been lucky enough to have Coder Manic streamed by a lot of really great streamers. And sometimes, you know, when I watch it, I'll be like, oh, I never thought someone would say that line that way. And that can be a learning process. And it's okay. You don't have to feel embarrassed. Try your best to just think like, at the end of the day, you're not going to please everybody. If someone gives you some bad feedback, that's all right. It means that you can tweak it, but you don't. It also could mean that it's just not a game that they want, and that's fine. It's fine for it to not be for everyone. If it's for you, and if it's for a group of people that you feel like will want this game, that's okay. All right, now what about if you want to release your game? So, first of all, you don't have to release your first game. It's your first game, or your second game, or your 10th game. You can just be making them because it's something funny to do with your friends, or because you're increasing your skills and you don't feel you're ready yet. That's fine. But if you do want to, I recommend itch.io. This is a great place where you can even mark your project as a prototype or work in progress, and they love visual novels. There are so many visual novels on this platform. It's amazing. As for spreading the word, the marketing, the PR, the social media, this is really another whole talk, so we can't talk about it too much today. But what should you know about this? I think it's good to just focus first on making good games. It's okay. You will have to know this stuff eventually, but you don't need to know it yet. You could spend your time right now, though, joining groups that like visual novels, sharing links on social media, getting to know people who review them, and maybe emailing those websites if you have something new. Start that kind of community vibe going. Start to know the people who care about visual novels. And, you know, just like any other art form, making games is an iterative process. So you're going to practice, you're going to learn, you're going to play games, you're going to read, you're going to talk to others about it. But also, if you want, you can come hang out with me. You know my Twitch channel now. It's Dr. Mikachu. And we have a Discord that has a bunch of people who like to make games. Some people are new to it. Some people are in the industry. And we have a really positive community. I'm also on Twitter. Same name, Dr. Mikachu. So I think I did it. I think I finished my talk in about 60 minutes, just as we planned. It's practically a miracle. But that's all I have for you today. And I really hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you are excited about making your own projects. Please let me know on Twitter or in Discord if you decide to make something. We have channels for that. Someone's telling me it's 59 minutes and 34 seconds. All right, we did it. But yeah, winners of the giveaway. Okay, looks like it's Z Bookish, Taco Saga, and Tracy Facey. Congrats so much. Thank you. Yeah, and then I think Geek Girl Con is going to have some more content coming up, I believe at 2:30. But my plan is to keep hanging out on my channel. It's up to them if they want to keep hosting or not. But we're just going to keep talking. So if you do have some questions, I'll go back through and I will look at the questions that you may have asked while I was talking. And thank you so much. It was really great to meet everybody today. I'm really happy that we got to hang out today. Oh yeah, thank you, Geek Girl Con. Definitely one of my favorite events of the year for sure. And I'm so glad that we figured out a way to do. Sorry, I clicked and then my screen went really crazy. I'm so glad that we figured out a way to do this online. I would love to see you all over on Twitch for the rest of our content. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to, I think the next Geek Girl Con slot starts at 2:30, correct? So my plan was that I'm going to keep chatting here until 2:30, and then we will raid into Geek Girl Con so you all can keep watching the rest of the stuff over there, okay? But yeah, let me just catch up with the chat now and see what you all are up to. Okay, so someone asked about cowboy games. You know, I think that they're really... I have to think about that some more. I feel like there are games where there's one character who is a cowboy. That's pretty common. Let me also go ahead. Oh, Emerald, one of my mods, could you post the Patreon link again for people? And I'll post it again on Twitter and on our Discord as well. You're welcome, Springleaf. I'm glad to hear that some people were able to attend because it was online. And I think this is a really cool opportunity for us to get better at making events like this more accessible for people who live in all different places. Wheel Rainstorm says, are there any tips to get the end of the game played and tested at an equal rate as the introduction? Yeah, I definitely feel that pain. So when we made Coda Romantic, it's one of our largest games. And it takes people anywhere from like 8 hours to 14 hours to finish it. So what we had to do was take like a couple of people that I trusted, because essentially I picked people that I knew were very new to coding and would give honest feedback of how hard it was, and people that also I thought were engaged in the kind of story that we were telling. And we asked them to do longer tests. And in a couple cases, they recorded video of themselves playing at their leisure and then sent it to us. No, web captioner, we talked about this. You were so good. And then you put a creepy word in there. And other times, like, I actually sat on a video call for like several sessions, like several days in a row, to watch. But ideally, I think it would be better if you have a longer game to have the same playtesters that you think will come back several times and do the first part with them, then do the next part with them, and so on. Game Dev Girl says, I'm not in the US, but I've been able to attend so many cool events because of the shift online. I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, Zabookish says as well, traditional cons are hard for me due to chronic issues. I think that's very common as well. I mean, I think that's all really good points. One of the previous Geek Girl cons I did a talk at, we did a interactive fiction live demo, and we used Twine. And we actually now on this channel do a thing where every once in a while we write a Twine game together. And that was inspired because of Geek Girl Con, because I had people from the audience shout out names of characters and things that they wanted to happen in the demo. And it was really fun. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I know Batman was involved. I feel like he jumped out a window or something. All right, Geek Girl Con says, we'll be back at 2:30 p.m. for a case of the cozy. Why we need wholesome games. I'm so excited about this. I love this like wholesome game like trend or tide that's coming, where people are saying, yay, this will be so cool to have like games that are about relaxing. And all of these are such good games. Animal Crossing, Calico, Until Dawn. Oh my gosh, that's not a cozy game, guys. That's a horror game that I like. Untitled Goose Game and Kind Words. I feel like I have all of those. Oh, Spiritfarer. I was actually about to mention that, Gwimp. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. Spiritfarer is also really good cozy game. It's very cathartic. It's about like people, well, like creatures that are people that need to accept the fact that they have to move on to the afterlife. Game Dev Girl says, I'm wondering how Notepad++ knew about the word forest. Wow, that is such a really good point. And I don't have the exact answer for that. I would say there's a couple of reasons why that might have been true. It might be because I've previously demoed this a couple times, so I would have already written forest a few times and it might have remembered. Do we have any Notepad++ experts that might know why that was? But you really honed in on something very important here, which is that, yeah, usually the autocorrect or autocomplete in a text editor will only be things that are keywords and not usually things that you've made up. Oh my god, Ricky says, I just started playing Tell Me Why, but it's deep. I don't think I know that one. Oh wait, I have seen people playing that one. Oh, see, I'm just like Apocalypsa. I also cried so much playing Spiritfarer. And Life is Strange. Yeah, Life is Strange is also a really great narrative game. I wonder, I don't think it would be considered technically a visual novel because there's a lot more interactivity and you're moving around in a 3D space. That doesn't mean that you can't move in a 3D space in a visual novel, but I think they were going for like, I don't know what they would call that genre. It's definitely like a narrative type of game. You backed the Kickstarter for Life is Strange. Have you played it? If you haven't played it, Miss Tapcat, that would be an amazing one for you and Jason to play on your channel. Because, yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, like an adventure game. Oh, Grabic says Notepad++ usually learns words in a particular document, but if you didn't spell it earlier, I don't know. So maybe it is because I've made a few documents where I've typed forest in, but they all had the same name because they were all, uh, they were all script.rpy. So maybe that's why. I love how the chat is just people talking about games that made them cry. Okay, let's see. What games have made me cry? Let me go back. Let's talk about some of the games I have on these slides, which again, all the links are in that Patreon post. Okay, games that made me cry. This one, this one, this one, this one for other reasons. Yeah, a lot of good choices here. Um, I cry a lot playing the Persona games. That's like one of my favorite game series. That's an RPG that has a lot of like narrative elements in it. I love adventure games. It's more my background. I just got into visual novel game dev recently. Yay, that's so cool. And Taco Saga says Final Fantasy 6 and 11 made me cry. By the way, if you are joining or following for the first time, I see we do have some new followers here. Thank you so much, everybody. I stream every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and we make games together. So I try to make it a different stream every week to kind of let you learn about different stuff, but I'm always doing something that is actual work I need to do to finish a project. This week, because of Halloween, we may need to cancel. I'm not sure yet. But if we do cancel, there's a possibility we might actually show this creepy forest thing we've been building on stream, which is essentially like a spooky creature cam made in Unity. So if you do tune in and you're new and you see a spooky forest on Thursday, that's what that is. Next month is National Novel Writing Month. And so we're going to do like a whole month of writing focused streams, starting with on November 5th. I have the published author Ruth Ann Reed, who's going to join me and talk about how she got into writing and what she does to write her books. And I think a lot of the stuff that she has to say will be really interesting to you, because we're going to talk about the benefits of self-publishing versus getting traditionally published, and all the things that she does to build her community for her books, which is all stuff that's very relevant to game developers too. Is how do you build a community? How do you tell people about it? Should I work with a publisher? I think there's a lot of very relatable things. Yes, Walking Dead games, Telltale games, those are so great as well. I'm also a big fan. Does anyone else stream game dev or art? Great question, Wub Wub Wub. Your name is fun to say. Alfsters was here earlier. He streams, and Zippertech streams. We also, in our Discord, I'll quickly post the link to our Discord here. We have like a channel where people promote their streams when they go live, which anyone here who streams is welcome to do. And a lot of the people in there are game devs that stream. So I really appreciate when you guys post in there, because I have trouble keeping track of all my Discords, but at least I can focus on the one I run, which is the Pretty Smart Discord. And it's really cool to see that. Yeah, and we'll probably do a Twine stream as well in November. So if you are thinking about getting into that tool, you'll get to learn that as well. That's another one that's really good for people that are maybe a little nervous about coding, or you're more familiar with web development, or you just really want to write an interactive story. I use Twine a lot to make design docs. Taco Saga. I have the points I need. Where's the button I seek? You have to save it for next Thursday. We do have some fun awards that we do here on my channel. So that's what Taco Saga is talking about. Is we have a very exciting monologue about bread that I give, and we also have shark interruptions. So if you do like sharks as much as I do, you'll get to see that. Don't give an explanation. Yeah, we're not supposed to give an explanation. It's true. It's true. All right, let's see. Let me talk a little more about these games. So, yeah, does everyone recognize all these games? Is there one that you don't recognize? And there's a lot of other screenshots in here. This is how we're going to use the 20 minutes. So this is Ace Attorney, or Phoenix Wright. It's one of my favorite games series, easily. This is a game series that's taught people about law, but perhaps not completely accurately how law works. And it is a game that it's basically like a detective mystery. You're the defense attorney. You're trying to protect the witness. But the funny thing about it is, sorry, the defendant. The funny thing about it is usually one of the witnesses will end up being the murderer. So it becomes a game of you trying to catch the person on the stand in a lie and then yelling objection, which is super fun. I gotta go. Big thanks again. Of course, Game Dev Girl. Thank you so much for being here. I do have Danganronpa mentioned. I actually put them over here on the slide about characters because I think that Danganronpa is a really good example of having a unique cast of characters that fall into archetypes but also surprise you. And if you have played the games, you know that pretty much every character here appears to be one way but is actually a different way by the end. And that's a really great way to do a murder mystery. Another really cool thing I briefly mentioned as well is their silhouettes are super iconic. You get all the different hairstyles, the different bodies, the clothes. They're very like recognizable immediately. I read this great book on character design, and they had this article in there by one of the creators of Ratchet and Clank. And it was super cool because one of the things that they were talking about there was they said that you want to make sure that your character designs could be drawn by a child. And I thought that was really interesting. And so basically, like, could a child abstract away what is the thing that's iconic about this character? So, like, if we look at Hifumi here, he's got this point at the top of his head, and he's got these glasses, and he's very, very round. He also has this tie you can't see here that has an arrow on it. So if a character was, or if a player or a child was going to draw Hifumi, which probably a child should not be playing this game, by the way, they would maybe draw like a circle and like a point for the hair. And they were saying that's what they did for Ratchet and Clank in Japan, is they accentuated his eyebrows a lot. And then in the advertising for the game, they would say like, the hero with the bushy eyebrows, and get kind of like make that the defining feature of this character. Z Bookish says, I adore Ace Attorney. Playing the 5th game, kind of on a break. Oh, I love Ace Attorney so much. It is very long, but it really pays off as a character-driven story for sure. And thank you for the follow, Puggle Muggle. Usually I thank everyone individually, but I didn't do that because of the talk today. Thank you, Shell Dragon, Apocalypsa, Cora Piki, It's All Pretend, Springleaf, Mr. Zeal, Book Snail, Gwimf, Mayessa, So Crafty, thank you so much. We're signing off to stretch our legs and hydrate. Thank you so much. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I hope this was super educational, and let's just keep chatting until their next session starts, and we'll go raid over there. Hey, Joy Bane, how are you? I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed it. I love giving talks like this. It's been a little harder to do them this year because I think 2020 has really drained a lot of my energy, probably for a lot of you as well. But I do have some other talks I gave this year or prepared, and I think we're going to make them all as like public Patreon posts so that anybody can see them. I've just found it's been useful to use the Patreon as a blog because I don't have any other blogs. So that way you can always go there and check out all the public posts and know about our games and also any talks I've given. There's not much month left in the year. Oh my gosh, right? Isn't that amazing? Has everyone else felt this kind of like there's too many things? There's time is passing both fast and very slow feeling? Are you having that feeling, or is it just me? Yeah, what month is it? I mean, I knew we were in trouble on October 3rd or so. I saw a tweet that said, October's gonna be a long year, and it sure has, everybody. Joybane is here. Earlier, people were asking about other great game dev streamers. We gotta give a shout out to Joybane, who is a professor working in game dev and game design, and also is an incredible pixel artist, and will often do these really educational streams that show you how he breaks down pixel art, how he takes basically, we talked about earlier when we talked about this phase, the art style phase. Joybane will show you, okay, you've picked an art style, but how do you make it that art style? And really super informative, and a really fun group of people, of course, that hang out over there. Why are things only going slowly when things aren't going well? Eek, I know, right? You found a job and time went fast again. Nice. The only reason I know what day it is because of teaching in person. Oh, okay. I hope you're enjoying that and it's not too scary, you know, health-wise. Okay, so other games that were on our list. Let's talk about these two games. So this is my little get on my soapbox and tell you about, like, oh, all the cool things you could do with games, like telling stories about your culture or your life or things that matter to you. And like things that matter to you could even be like, you love figure skating. Like, I love figure skating. So I will actually be watching the figure skating event after we're done here today. But like, it doesn't have to be something that's hard or sad. It can be something like that you just want more people to be excited about something that you love. You like the bottom art style? Yeah, so these are two games. This is Hide, which is made by Twiggly Bits. Twiggly Bits is also a streamer, and she has really incredible artwork. And she's like telling this story about being bullied and this kind of sense of like you hide behind your hair. And this girl is like considering just chopping it all off. It's so cool, and really, she's such an incredible artist, and that's why I love, one of the things I love about visual novels, right, is that she's able to take this skill she already has and translate it into interactive medium. Shipyarn says, Yuri on Ice got you hooked. That is an accurate statement. You're very lucky that I did not just tweet like crazy last night, because I did not realize the figure skating event was happening this year. I thought it was all going to be canceled, but they figured out a way to do a very curated event that has like the billboards, the, you know, people have paid money to put themselves or often their dogs in the stands on big like build kind of cardboard things. My favorite skater is Keegan Messing. He's currently in 3rd place, and I'm really, really, really happy about it. So hopefully, best of luck to him. He's going to be skating within the hour, I think. The Katia says, great stream. Are the slides available somewhere? Okay, I haven't made the slides available yet, but we have that Patreon link. Where did it go? Someone else is probably going to post it before I do. Here's the notes for the talk are here, and I'm going to try to figure out how to attach the slides as well. So it'll all be in one place. Yeah, so this is Hide, and then this game down here, this is One Night Hot Springs. This is such a good game, and yeah, as someone noted, really interesting art style. I'm sure she's a good writer. She writes directly on the bed. So this game is about a trans woman who's been invited to the hot springs with her friends, and it's about all the complications that come with that, and about how she feels Is she allowed to do this activity with her friends? Will other people consider her a woman so she can do the activities, and how her friends react to it? And it's such a really like sweet and interesting game that teaches you about that perspective if you have not experienced that yourself or had a friend explain it to you. This also is part of a trilogy, and the second game kind of explores LGBTQ relationships, and the third game explores a different kind of relationship. So it goes through all three of the girls and teaches you different things about all of them, which I think is super, really, really fascinating and really well done. Also, extra shout out because their game is available with captions. So, in a visual novel, most of the writing will be right here. And so you don't have to worry as much about captions. However, you do need to tell anyone who's hard of hearing what audio is happening. Is there a sound effect? Is there music change? And so they have included that in their games, which is really cool. Yeah, and then Dream Daddy is pretty popular, very comedic dating sim. Butterfly Soup, oh my god, Ricky was asking earlier, this is the game that we played, me and my friend Monostache on a stream. I absolutely love this game. It is a really great story about girls falling in love and playing baseball together. I also really, really want to call out Umineko. This is I will say this is for advanced visual novel fans. There's actually a YouTube video by someone, I think their name is Red Dwarf or Red Matter, a Rose Matter maybe. But they made a video about how long Umineko actually is to finish. It is 120 hours of content. It is longer than Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, anything you could think of practically to get through this game. I think this is one of the best stories I've ever read. I also think, it could have been edited more to not be that long. It's an investment. That's what you need to know. Yes, this is Steins Gate. So Steins Gate is also a really good sci-fi game. If you like anime, if you think that you're familiar with like otaku weeaboo culture, you'll probably find it very funny. It's sort of like the premise is that he's role-playing that he's the mad scientist, but then they actually invent real science fiction stuff, and because of that a bunch of real stuff happens to this little gang of nerds, and they have to deal with some real consequences. So it's very, very cool. And yeah, I've heard that the Steins Gate anime is really good. It started from the game. A lot of visual novels are made into anime and manga. For Umineko, I would recommend, if you don't want to play the game through, the manga is very faithful. The anime, I have heard, is kind of confusing. I'm sure it's pretty, but it is a very complicated story. The premise of Umineko is that if you guys liked the movie Knives Out, my friend Katie mentioned that Knives Out is basically Umineko, and I think she's on to something there. But basically, it's a rich family is trapped on this island, which is where the family estate is. And then one by one, they start being murdered. But I'm sort of spoiling the first episode, which is like 30 hours to get through. But I want you to get excited about what the premise is in case you do want to read it. Everybody like mysteriously dies, and then they're all brought to this room where they're told that this witch, Beatrice, has done it. And this character, Battler, is the main character, and he does not believe a witch could do it. He believes that a human was capable of it. And so what ends up happening is that they replay the murder mystery several more times, and Battler has to prove to the witch, in sort of like an abstracted other universe, they're watching the events take place, and he has to prove that a witch could not do this, that a human could do all this, and that there is no magic. So if you really are into detective mysteries, and murder mysteries, this is really a cool thing. But it does have a lot of like kind of strange anime jokes and it's very long. It's also very like dark, you know. Yeah, Umineko has great music. It's in that list, in the Patreon list. Detective mysteries are my jam. Nice. Yeah, let me look over my list of games here to see. Yeah, this is Analog, a hate story. This one is also mature, but you know, this basically, gosh, it's so exciting to talk about this game. This game is a sci-fi game that takes place on a spaceship, but it uses the culture of 12th century Korea, I believe. And so this AI is teaching you about the weird gender disparities and the roles that people are trapped in this future world that are based on actual history. And you get to learn, you're basically alone with this AI, and you're learning what happened to everyone on the ship because of some event that occurred. So it is a kind of detective mystery. Let's see, what else did we talk about? We talked a little bit about Neocab. Neocab is a game in a dystopia where you are a cab driver, like an Uber driver, and everyone's kind of against human drivers. Like they think that, you know, machines that drive you around are much more safe. And your job is to pick up people and take them around town, and they talk to you while you do. So that's where the dialogue comes in. This is a really cool game. It touches on the themes of like gaslighting and dystopia and rebellion and revolution. And there's not easy choices in this game. You know, you'll have to frustrate some people and help others. And you may not always make the right choice, whatever the right choice may be. You might actually, you know, hurt people because you couldn't pick up two people at once to help them. So it is very, very compelling. I thought it was really good. We talked a little bit about Danganronpa. Danganronpa is, again, a pretty dark series, but very interesting. This one is Ace Attorney meets Battle Royale. Or Saturday if you're a web captioner. This is the one that, you know, murder mystery, kids are trapped, one kid dies, the other kids have to find out who did it. I mean, Hatoful Boyfriend it's a dating sim where you date pigeons. And the best part about it is that's not what makes the plot great. There's a whole really intricate plot beyond that. Amnesia Memories. Amnesia Memories, I really like as a dating sim. As someone pointed out, sounds like a horror game because there is a really popular series called Amnesia that's horror. This one is like, it's definitely got some things in it that are complicated and not for everyone. And this is a weird trend in dating sim games, is that they will often have a character that will kill you, or is like, you know, he's a murderer, but you can reform him. So you actually die a lot in a lot of dating sims. You definitely die a lot in this one because there's multiple characters that will get annoyed and try to kill you if they think you don't love them. A little weird. One of my dream projects is to take the podcast Fated Mates, which is about romance books, and every time they've done a topic, I want to make a blog post that recommends you a visual novel from all the topics. So I just have to, it's going to be a lot of work. I started to map it all out. I mean, this one will clearly be the amnesia subgenre. My favorite character here actually is not in one of these icons. It's the one that he's very serious and he likes math. Thanks, Katiest. And this is Arcade Spirits. Arcade Spirits is really fun, cool, diverse cast game where they run an arcade and there's these really cute little characters that are like the AI in the phones as well. I haven't dived too deep into this one, but I really want to more. And then this is, let's get the real title. This is I Love You, Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating simulator, which many of you may have heard of. Very fun premise that people came up with over at KFC and thought, you know what's gonna really sell more fried chicken? Sexy Colonel Sanders. And they did it. And you will actually see a lot of goofy games like that. Oh, thank you, Danny. Sorry, Merker. I outed your real name. Okay, thank you so much. All right, guys, we're going to go and raid the Geek Girl Con channel now. Thank you again so much. Please follow if you haven't already. And I hope I see you in the future. Here's my Twitter. I'm just going to post all of my social media links really quick. And then we're going to raid so you guys can check out the other Geek Girl Con content. Yes, thank you for the Discord link. And then thank you to my Patreon supporters. Really helps me with my indie game work. So, yeah, let's go raid. No need for a raid call. Those of you that come up a lot here, let's just go over and hang out and watch the next panel, okay? And I will hopefully see some of you on Thursday. Oh, I'm not allowed to raid the channel. Okay, I'm not allowed to raid. Everyone just go over there and I'm gonna end the stream then. All right? Yeah, maybe I can host. Good idea. It's like gonna be an Inception host because they hosted me later. Okay. If you're here for some reason, bye. I'll see you later.